Hi, we're here with former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, and I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Terry Morrone is the producer, public access producer, and we're here. It's kind of a reprieve for us, or let's say a second try, because we taped you back in 2005 talking about the 2004 elections. I don't know if you remembered, but we were activists outside, and I had mud on my pants, and you let us into your congressional office and sat on your couch and let us interview you. So we actually have another tape of you. But welcome, and thank you so much. Maybe you would want to talk a little bit about why you were here today.
This was a wonderful event in the heart of New York City, sadly at the Audubon Ballroom, the place where Malcolm X was murdered, and we had a bit of frank discussion about the life and times of Malcolm, the people around him, the family that paid the ultimate price for the convictions that he held, and the government that did everything within its power to destroy him and the movement that he was trying to build.
And I think you're in such a unique position because you won and you energized your base. You were actually a part of the government, and when you were there, you did powerful, wonderful things. And now that you were part of actually also the Democratic Party, and then you left it, or you got unelected, and now you're in a very interesting position to be critiquing the government and in the government. And I thought maybe you could speak about that transition or what you learned from being in and out.
Well, what I've learned being in and out, as you correctly point out, is that there are a lot of people who have a lot of questions about the government, and they don't exactly know where to turn to for answers because the corporate media don't tell the people the truth. And one of the things that we talked about today was the counterintelligence program and how strong the counterintelligence program was. One of its aims was to destroy, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize, in the particular case that we were looking at, black leadership, but dissent. And so then when we look at what they did to Malcolm X, when we look at what they did to Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther King Jr. was hounded for the last 5 years of his life, and then after he was murdered, the corporate media continued to try and change the very meaning and the significance of the movement that he was building as well. So we shouldn't be surprised when we read in the newspaper that we have CIA psychological operations agents stationed at the CNN newsroom. We shouldn't be surprised that the Bush administration would lie to the American people through the corporate media 935 times, and the corporate media would just repeat what the government said. They did it during the COINTELPRO era. They did it against Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we're talking about the New York Times, the Christian Science Monitor, the St. Louis Times-Dispatch, the New Orleans Times-Picayune, the Atlanta Constitution. These are newspapers that have a reputation, or have tried to acquire this reputation of telling the truth. And people think that when they read them, they are reading a version of the truth, but in some cases, it's a far cry from the truth, and it's coming from the most established media outlets in our country.
Well, you were discussing the corporate media, and we're very proud to not be the corporate media. And actually, at the last interview, when I was apologizing for the mud on my pants, I said, "I'm so sorry, but we're the radicals. We were across the street demonstrating," and you said, "That's why I invited you in here, because you were the radicals." So I thank you for never being very corporate. And I wondered if you had any thoughts on the Democratic Party being a part of the corporate parties and the corporate media and the change that you made. For a long time, we were just waiting for you to say that you would be green, and I can't tell you how honored the Greens are that you switched. But do you have any thoughts about going from the Democratic to the Green Party?
One of the things that I have to say is that there are a whole lot of people in this country who think green, believe green, live green, but they just haven't made the switch to becoming members of the Green Party. And you could say that we have a system of control, of political control in this country that funnels people into the two-party paradigm. Thank goodness there's a healthy group of people out there who reject that kind of control and manipulation. I would also have to say thank you to the people who have labored for the last two decades to build the Green Party in this country so that people like me can have a place to call home when we finally wake up and understand that the Democratic Party, notwithstanding the wonderful candidates who might choose to run under the Democratic Party's banner, the Democratic Party itself is a mechanism of control that does not permit a certain kind of political thought or political behavior. There's no room for the Mike Gravels. There's no room for the Dennis Kuciniches. So there was no room for me as I tried to talk about accountability of our resources. How can the Pentagon just say we've lost $2.3 trillion, but it's okay because the United States people can afford it? What about truth about what happened on September 11th? 3,000 people were murdered, and how come we can't expect the government to tell us the truth about what happened on that day? Why didn't the government protect us? Why didn't the Bush administration protect us? It's charged with protecting the American people. It didn't do that on 9/11, and it didn't do that with Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. And so when we try to hold our elected officials accountable through the constitutional means provided to us by way of impeachment, then the Democrats are the ones who say impeachment's off the table. The Democrats are the one who failed to repeal the Patriot Act. The Democrats are the one who continue to fund the war. The Democrats are the ones who say that the Bush tax cuts are all right. And even though they railed against them when they were in the minority, now that they're in the majority and they could do something about it, they failed to do it. So I decided on my birthday that I would declare my independence from the Democratic Party, and I would declare my independence from any national leadership that was complicit in war crimes, crimes against humanity, torture, and all of the rest of it. I reject it, and I'm happy to have joined with other people in the Green Party who reject that as well.
You're so profound and always thinking the right way, and you fed into a question that Terry Morrone, our producer, actually had. So he wants to hear you say more and more about that missing money because you seem to really be onto things.
Basically, your producer is absolutely right. The $2.3 trillion that's, quote, missing isn't really missing at all. Somebody got the money. Just like every day, according to American Friends Service Committee, we now know that we spend $720 million every day on war. And it's not just that the American people are spending that money. Somebody's getting that money. That's the other side of the equation. And so I did ask the question about the $2.3 trillion. Well, now you can't get an answer on that. However, about the $20 billion that they've already spent to make the computers talk to each other, we did get reams and reams and reams and reams of paper. But, you know, the bottom line is that the contracts go to the same companies because they are the ones who can pull the insider deals.
Thank you so much. Thank you.